everybody, this is Tom from VermiBag. Last week when we did the update on the VermiBag trash bag, I said that the following week I was going to go ahead and add some more cardboard to the system. So I gathered up some cardboard that I'm going to go ahead and rip up today and prepare for the system. So I'll show you what it's like, and we'll just real quickly go through the whole process again of making the cardboard mix before we put it in the system. Then we'll go over there and take a look at the bag and see how it's doing. This is what I'm going to go ahead and prepare for the trash bag today. Now, depending on how much this is, once we get it all wetted down, I may not put all of it in the system. And if I don't, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and mix in some additional paper and coconut coir, a couple different things, and just make up some more bedding mix with the remaining amount. Now, I start with about 5 gallons of water in some type of plastic tub. Then I have a big chunk of coconut coir here, and then also just about maybe 5-6 cups of compost. Now I'm going to be adding that to the water before I ever start to rip up all this material and put it in there. So the first thing I want to do is just go ahead and throw in my coconut coir and my soil or compost. Get that to disintegrate in here. Okay, so I have all the compost and coconut coir in the system, and it's all mixed in. So now I'm just going to rip everything up real coarsely, throw it in here, and let it soak for about 15-20 minutes before we put it in the system. Now, what's important to do as you're mixing this up, don't throw too much cardboard in here in between the agitations. The whole purpose of the coconut coir and the compost is to get those particles in between the cardboard pieces and the paper pieces you're putting in here, so they won't stick together. So you have to go in there periodically as you're shredding this stuff and putting it in here, and make sure that that mixture of coconut coir and compost ends up in between all the particles of paper. You can see here on this pizza box, I mean, there's a little bit of tomato sauce, maybe a couple of tiny little pieces of cheese and stuff, but you don't have to worry about stuff like that. In a tiny little amount, it's not going to hurt anything at all. Now, I would add coffee grounds to it, but I'm actually out right now, so it's going to have to go without coffee grounds right now. But I am going to add a little bit of ground up eggshells here, just for a grit source and calcium. A couple little handfuls of that, and then I'll mix that in with it. Then we'll go ahead and put it in the bag. So this is what it looks like right now. I basically have water coming all the way up to the surface. So I'm just going to let it soak like this for 15-20 minutes, I suppose. And then we'll go ahead and put it in the worm bag. So let's go ahead and open this up and see how it's doing. A lot of worms on the surface, just underneath. I mean, they like to hang out in between all these layers of cardboard. There's a little bit of a feeding from last week, but still there. This cardboard that's down here now is starting to break up a little bit. I mean, it's really soft. The worms have definitely been starting to work at it a little bit. It's starting to decompose on itself, by itself. It's kind of interesting how they, just work their way into all these layers. And what's funny is a lot of the really thick wads of paper, when you break them open, you'll find tiny little worms. The little baby juveniles tend to go inside these really tight places. They're hanging out in there. You know, just hanging out between the cardboard. Kind of funny. There's actually a fair amount of food in here still, and the system is actually real moist. So I'm actually thinking that I may take the bedding that I'm going to put in and actually let it drain out a little bit. I don't really wring it out really good for I don't add quite so much moisture into the system right now. Because the system right now is plenty moist. I don't need any more, so I don't want to get it too wet. This is what I'm talking about, anaerobic conditions per se. You can see how this particular piece of cardboard, well, I did get some in between it there, but between a couple of the layers there's nothing, so they'll wad up and you won't get any oxygen in those areas. So it's a good idea to mix it up pretty good when you're mixing up your cardboard mix. Make sure you get a lot of that coconut coir everywhere. I was going to add some food to it this week, but I actually see a fair amount of food in here, little pieces here and there. Looks like a little bit of bread that's in here still. And the worms are pretty well dispersed. They're really not congregating anywhere in particular, but you can see how well mixed they are in the system. You'll see little pockets of them here and there. A little piece of plastic I'll take out. But overall they're looking really good. Again, the moisture content's really good. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some of that cardboard mix that I just made up. I'm going to wring it out really good because there's not much moisture in it. And put a layer on here and we'll call it a day. So I'm wringing this out really well. Well, the best I can. It's still wet, there's no doubt about that. If my system was dry at all, I'd go ahead and just bring this in sopping wet. But since I have moisture content's about perfect in the bag right now, so I don't really want to add too much additional moisture into it. So that's about it. I'll have a nice layer of this cardboard mix over the top. It's probably an inch or so thick. And just going to close it up like that, and we'll check on it next week. Maybe give it some food next week, and maybe a little bedding, my premix bedding over the top of this cardboard. So that's it for this week's update on the VermiBag trash bag. Till next week, ciao.